everyone, hope you're all well. Today I want to give you my first impressions of Halo Infinite and its multiplayer. Now I'm someone that played quite a lot of Halo Infinite's multiplayer, especially against the bots, but I did also play during the 2-hour player versus player period, which I'll definitely talk about in this video. I streamed this game for 4 days in a row, whilst on lockdown here in Sydney, and I had an absolute blast. I honestly was blown away by the amount of fun I was having, especially while streaming, and I constantly found myself playing that one extra game instead of hopping off, because the gameplay was super addicting. It keeps you coming back for more, and after playing my first couple of games, it was safe to say that I was hooked. Now while I have mainly positive things to share, I will just say that of course the experience wasn't perfect. There were hiccups here and there, which I'll definitely talk about, but for a build that was 2 months old, it was far better and smoother than most of us ever anticipated. So with that said, let me give you my first impressions of Halo Infinite's multiplayer. When I opened the Halo Infinite technical preview build for the very first time, I was excited, but mainly anxious, because the gameplay had to be good. It had to be better than good, but most importantly, it had to play and feel like Halo. I can confidently say, after playing Infinite's multiplayer, that 343 have succeeded in doing just that for the very first time since taking over the franchise. Don't get me wrong, I'm a massive fan of Halo 5's multiplayer, but it lost the Halo identity due to its super fast nature. But Halo Infinite is the perfect blend of classic and modern, with elements from Halo 3 and Halo 5, which is why the gameplay works so well. 343 had the impossible task of balancing sprint in a way that would both please the Halo fanbase, but also keep the gameplay interesting, because I'm sure you all know how divided the Halo community is on sprint, ever since its introduction back in Halo Reach. Halo Infinite Sprint honestly feels perfect. Yes, I said it. 343 managed to create a specific role for sprint in Infinite. Instead of constantly using it to run around the map, you're using it to set up short bursts of momentum, which can be further enhanced via sliding. But this comes at a price. When you use sprint, you show up on the radar, signaling your movement to the enemy team. However, when you move normally, without sprinting, you don't appear. I'm a big fan of how Infinite's radar has been implemented, as it helps slow the game down and promotes more mindful movement. Flanking will be a viable tactic in Infinite again, where you don't have to sprint to get the better of your enemy. But if you ever want that increase in speed, it's there, ready. And there are some really cool things you can do with sprint and slide in Halo Infinite to increase your top speed. Definitely check Shyway's video on it if you want to learn more. It's worth the watch. I've got to say, the Halo community has reacted very positively to Halo Infinite's implementation of sprint. I really hope 343 notices that and takes pride, because they truly have done the impossible. I can't tell you how many posts I've seen on both Twitter and Reddit of people praising the sprint mechanic in Halo Infinite. Now during the tech preview, we were able to test out the assault rifle, battle rifle, sidekick, bulldog, needler, commando, sniper, plasma pistol, pulse carbine, ravager, heatwave, skewer, and gravity hammer. I've got to say, I really enjoyed all these weapons, with the skewer and ravager being my two personal favourites. The assault rifle was a blast to use, and it finally has a place in the sandbox. It doesn't step on the power weapon's toes, but in a close to mid-range fight, it will definitely do the job. It feels beefy and sounds great. Plus, with the headshot bonus, it makes it all the more viable against precision weapons, whereas in Halo 3, you would get destroyed by anyone using a BR mid-range, even sometimes close range. So I'm very happy to see the assault rifle shining here. I do understand that not all fans are happy with how strong it is, but I personally am a huge fan of how it currently plays, so I hope it doesn't change. The battle rifle feels incredible to use. I couldn't stop commenting on how good it felt during my first time playing. It sounds fantastic, and has the same time to kill as the Halo 3 BR, which is quite interesting. The sidekick felt great to use, but not too overpowered compared to the Halo 5 Magnum. The beauty of the sidekick is that it will not win against the other weapons in the sandbox, like the Commando and BR, and that's okay, because it does a damn good job close to mid-range. It sounds awesome too, and I always enjoy using it. The Bulldog was a weapon I originally thought I wouldn't like, but once I got my hands on it, my opinion quickly changed. I didn't use it too often, but when I did, it was devastating up close, and I really loved the spray effect once you start firing. The Needler. Now this was a weapon I really enjoyed using during this flight. I'm so happy to see it's more usable now, with a faster rate of fire and much better homing for the crystals. Whenever I had the chance, I would pick it up because it did such a great job close to mid-range. With that said, I am not a big fan of how it sounds. The Halo Infinite Needler just doesn't sound right. The crystals aren't loud enough and they don't pop like we're used to. It's a really small gripe I have with the Needler because I really enjoy using it, and if it had a better sound, one that was closer to the classics, I would be telling you that it was my favourite weapon to use during the flight, no joke. So I hope to see its weapon sound changed, but the way it performs during gameplay is great, and especially during player vs player, it was my go-to weapon on Bazaar. The Commando has an awesome sound, and the weapon really kicks ass on both bot slayer and PvP. It has some crazy recoil, especially while aiming, but that may be a thing we just need to get used used to. I really enjoy using it, even though my aim can be terrible at times. It also feels like an automatic replacement to the DMR. However, I think post-launch, there will be room for the DMR to make a return. The sniper was interesting to say the least. I loved the design and sound of it, but it was unusually difficult to use. I got my fair share of kills with it, with no scopes, quick scopes, and just regular scoping. But I've got to say, there were plenty of times where I missed a lot of shots, because the aim assist was non-existent. Now, I don't want it to have as much aim assist as Halo 5's, however, it's gotta be much better than what it currently is. At its current stage, the sniper felt like more of a liability than a power weapon, so I hope to see that improved because I always loved the sniper. The plasma pistol had a visual bug where a charged shot occasionally phased through a player, which definitely was not good during PvP combat, especially when trying to noob combo. The charged shot definitely needs better tracking in my opinion, as there were many times where I fired when the reticle lit up and it simply missed without actually tracking the player like a plasma pistol should. I will say that I'm in love with the charging sound. It comes straight from Halo CE, and I'm so happy 343 brought it back. I can't wait to be that annoying player running the noob combo when Infinite launches, because hopefully all those issues will be addressed. The pulse carbine really intrigued me. I couldn't tell if I enjoyed using it or not throughout the entire flight. There were times where it was incredible to use and it would track so well during a mid to long range fight, but close to mid range it left much to be desired. It's definitely not a close range weapon, as some assumed. It's meant to be used at a distance while leading your bursts, but I would like to see it have a faster rate of fire, or at least better tracking on the plasma bolts. Now this next weapon I had a total blast using, and that was the Ravager. After trying it out while playing on recharge, it very quickly became one of my favourite weapons to use. The red plasma bolts it fired were just stunning, and I really liked how the melee did more damage due to the blades on the front. Whenever I played on recharge, the Ravager was my go-to weapon, and on PvP it shredded. The heatwave I really enjoyed using. I know it wasn't everyone's favourite, but whenever I picked it up during PvP, it did the job, especially at close range. Its alternate firing mode is cool, but I think I found myself using the standard horizontal one more often. I'm a fan of the Forerunner design, and I like the way the bullets ricochet. There were instances where it seemed like some of the shots were doing 0 damage, and then some would instantly kill the enemy. I feel like that was a visual glitch, but it's something worth noting. It's certainly a weapon worth picking up. Really quickly, if you are enjoying the video, please consider subscribing. We are so close to 8,000 subscribers, so if you could subscribe, that would be just awesome. And for everyone else subbed, just know I really appreciate you. The skewer was one of my favourite weapons to use because simply it's a beast of a weapon. Besides sounding fantastic, it was super satisfying to get kills with it. However, I know a lot of people thought it was difficult to use, similar to the sniper. I personally thought it was much better, but I do think the reticle was a little too small. Overall, I loved using it, even though there were times I totally missed shots. I do hope 343 can make the skewer pin Spartans to the wall once they're dead, or pin the skewer shot to the wall while sending the Spartans flying. That would be so cool to see. The gravity hammer feels very vicious to use in Halo Infinite, and I'm a fan of its slower swing speed, since it now has a larger area of effect, which helps to differentiate it from the energy sword. My only wish is for the hammer to send everything flying as it used to, but other than that, I'm a massive fan of Infinite's gravity hammer. Those are my feelings towards the weapons at the moment. I'm very impressed so far with how they all stand out. I can't wait to test all of the other weapons in the game. I've got to say the bots were pretty awesome to fight against. The marine bots were of course very easy to kill, with ODST and Spartan bots being a notch higher. I will say that these Spartan bots need to be harder to kill because sometimes they felt like just ODST bots to me. I never really got bored while playing against the bots, with many of the matches feeling different to the one beforehand. Of course, there were situations where the bots did the stupidest of things and occasionally looked at the sky while spinning, but all in all the bots were really fun to fight against, and I never thought I'd say that. Few things still require tweaking, but that makes sense since it's their introduction to the series with Infinite. Player vs player was a lot of fun, and I've got to say the maps played quite differently when versing real players compared to the bots, which was interesting. The weapon sandbox felt the same to me, with every weapon still standing its ground against real players. I'd say occasionally the pulse carbine was useless alongside the plasma pistol, but like I also said earlier, it sometimes came in clutch with those homing plasma bolts landing at the right time. The starting few matches were really sweaty, but it got much better after that, and the game felt a lot slower, and this is thanks to the radar like I mentioned earlier in the video. There were some pros for stacking while playing other people during the flight, which was a little crazy, but of course the average Halo insider is going to get smacked against pros, but I had a really good time playing. Personally, I felt Recharge played the best during player vs player, with Bazaar playing the best against the bots. Very quickly I want to say that I really enjoyed playing on Bazaar, Recharge and Light Fire. They felt very well designed and balanced, but if I had to give a rating, I'd give Recharge a 9 out of 10, Bazaar an 8.5 out of 10, and Livefire an 8 out of 10. I know what you're all thinking, why are the ratings so high? Well, honestly, I had a great time playing on each one. I think visually Recharge looks the best, with Bazaar being nostalgic and symmetrical, being perfect for Capture the Flag. Livefire felt like a standard Halo map with not an awful lot going on, but I still had a blast playing on it, and in my opinion, the simple maps play the best. So it's safe to say that these 3 maps have already made a great impression. The grapple shot was so much fun to use. I had no clue how much fun this thing would be until I tried it, and wow, it works really well within Halo's sandbox. I kept wanting to use it, and whenever I paired it with the gravity hammer, I was unstoppable. Comment down below some of the cool moments you had using the grapple shot. The drop wall takes 2 seconds to set up, but it's useful in PvP while moving side to side. I got the drop on a few players while doing that, and every situation I came out victorious. So I don't think it needs a nerf or buff. The threat sensor I used the least, but it seemed good to scoop out the bots. I think during PvP it will be good to indicate to your team where the enemies are, and its animation is pretty cool. Again, it's the one I used the least, so I can't really make a sound judgment on it. The ping system introduced is great to tell your teammates where the enemies are, but often I found myself not using it. It is very useful though to indicate to your teammates where to push, especially if you're not talking in game chat. Now, a few things I want to see added are friendly fire, collisions with your own team, and grenade jumping. The lack of friendly fire in collisions made the game feel quite grenade spammy, especially against real players, as it took away a lot of the decision making usually required when choosing to throw a grenade. Grenade jumping is something that's always been in Halo, so it needs to come back. In terms of the player outlines, I've got to say I really liked picking and choosing my own fire team and enemy outlines, with some of my favourites for my fire team being mint and blue, and for enemies I loved pineapple and purple. They looked super clean. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but maybe 343 will add a toggle where only your fire team has outlines, with the enemy Spartans not needing one. I'm fine with either or, but I know some people have been asking for that. I think the medals on the screen need to be bigger, and for some reason they don't have that illustrious feel that they once had. I believe some are far too similar in style and shape. It's just a small gripe I have, but I would love to see Reach's medals get used because they were very unique. The Spartan AIs were pretty cool, and I've got to say I think it was a good addition to the Halo franchise. I seem to use Butler and Lumu the most, and I liked how they all seemed very different to one another. Of course that's the point, but it felt good to hear them talk in my ear about the cool things I was doing. I don't think they need to talk when I'm picking up a weapon, but that's just my opinion. I don't want to talk too much about Halo Infinite's UI just yet, because eventually I want to make a video on it with my detailed thoughts and how it can improve. But overall, I thought the UI functioned well most of the time. I think the customization layout can be improved as it feels kinda basic at the moment. The main menu itself looks awesome, and I love seeing my Spartan outside the Pelican just chilling before a match. The main menu music is just gorgeous, and I can't describe it in any other way. If you want to listen to it and the rest of the Infinite soundtrack so far, make sure to click on the card above. Seriously, I can't stop listening to it. The progression system needs some work because I felt we weren't really rewarded for just playing the game. You only got XP via challenges. So I think 343 needs to change that so you receive XP per game, like MCC and Halo 5. However, I do expect that to change before launch. To wrap up, I had a fantastic time playing Halo Infinite this past weekend. The game exceeded my expectations, and honestly, I'm so excited to see what's next for Infinite before launch. 343's transparency is something to admire, because they were willing to let over 100,000 of us test Infinite and give feedback, knowing that this first flight would be critical in terms of public reception, and it appears that majority, if not all Halo fans, are pleased with Infinite's gameplay so far. There are things to improve and fix, which 343 would be well aware of right now, but I've got to say, I'm very confident this game will be a success when Infinite launches. I'm currently in withdrawal right now since I can't play Infinite anymore, and I'm sure that's the same for most of you who played it. That's a good sign for 343, and proves their game is a lot of fun, and it makes sense. It is a fantastic Halo experience, one I'll be recommending to as many people as I can when it launches. So all I've got to say right now is well done 343. Bring on the next Halo Infinite flight. Alrighty guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. This game is shaping up to be something special, that's for sure. I really hope more of you will be able to experience it during the next flight. Make sure to have all your details correct and up to date on the Halo Insider program. Be sure to join my Discord in the description if you want to talk more about Halo Infinite or just Halo in general. It's an awesome community. Anyway fam, thanks so much for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you want to support me that little bit extra. Thanks guys, have a good one.